Amen. Erika, you come up. Erika is a friend of ours. We came into contact with you, I think, through your work in Baltimore, and you're a counselor out there, and you've been very, very faithful and devoted. You came over to our church one time on the street, and you looked right at home. And so that says so much. We just appreciate you and love you. And she has a testimony that I think will be valuable for us to hear. So why don't you just say what you have to say?
Hi, everybody. Okay. I wrote it out because it'll help me a little bit. All right. Okay. I stand before you guys today as a repentant murderer. Someone who took her daughter's life through the horrors of abortion. Someone who was in chains of darkness and now has been set free by the blood of the Lamb. My story is an unusual one, messy, but it's my story nonetheless, and God gets all the glory. Amen? Amen. Before I met Christ, I used to stand for all the things of the world. Love is love, my body, my choice, science as God, and the list goes on. My debased worldview and naturally selfish desires led me down a road of destruction. I found myself pregnant while studying abroad in the Dominican Republic. I was shocked and terrified. I cried in my hostel bedroom and wondered what I would do with this news. That same day, our student group went on a waterfall hike, and I decided to join to try and distract myself from what I had just found out. As we hiked up, I thought to myself, could this really be happening? As we hiked higher and higher, it all seemed surreal to me. Then I slipped. My foot slipped on a rock, and I fell into the top of the waterfall as it was swiftly heading for a 40-foot drop. I thrashed and turned around underneath the water violently, but realized my time was running out. I was about to go over the edge, and I didn't see a way out. My life flashed before my eyes, and I started to accept what might happen. But God had mercy on me. At the last moment, our tour guide jumped in and saved my life. I was pulled out of the water just like Moses. I gasped for air and laughed and cried in a mix of shock and adrenaline. I was alive. This was an amazing act of grace on the Lord's part, but it still wasn't enough to awaken my darkened heart. I was 12 weeks pregnant, and I knew that I couldn't have an abortion in the Dominican Republic because of the laws there. I ended up flying home and went to a clinic to have my baby killed. The father offered to pay for half of the abortion. Many years later, I found out he was hit by a car and died. I don't remember seeing an ultrasound. I barely remember the procedure, but I do remember the eerie sound of the suction machine and screaming out in pain as they sucked my baby out. The months that followed were some of the darkest in my life. I was suicidal and couldn't get out of bed. I began to be drawn to occult practices, dark art, and music. I drew artwork to help me cope, much of it demonic with pictures of fetuses and demons. I was changed. I had taken a life, now all I had was death. But this was not the end of my story. God had other plans. Fast forward many years later, in the spring of 2018, I was miraculously born again by the Spirit of God. A customer at Trader Joe's gave me a Bible, and I set it on my bookshelf in my apartment. One night when my boyfriend at the time was away, I grabbed the Bible and flipped it open to 1 John 5:15. And if we know that he hears us in whatever we ask, we know that we have the requests that we have asked of him. Right then and there, I decided that if God was real and this Bible was true, that if I prayed, that God would hear me. I got down on my knees and wept before the Lord and asked him to forgive me and that I wanted to follow him. I felt an enormous weight start to lift from me. After that point, it was a rapid chain of events. God was quickly transforming my heart and renewing my mind. I broke up with my boyfriend, moved out, lost most of my friends, and was shut out by many from my profession of Christ. But with all the loss came insurmountable gain. Nothing in the world was and is as valuable as Christ. Nothing is worth holding on to as dearly as him. Along my journey following Christ, I started to reflect on my past. I realized with great mourning and tears the sin I had committed against God and against his image bearer. I watched different documentaries about abortion, and for the first time I saw it. I actually saw it with my own eyes. I saw what these babies looked like, butchered and bloody, after they had been murdered, and it broke me. This is what I had done to my own daughter, and this is what is happening every day to 3,000 image bearers of God. But I needed to see it in order to heal, in order for the wicked deeds of darkness to be exposed, to see abortion for what it really is. I needed to realize what I had done and accept God's forgiveness, and to also forgive myself. It was a process, painful and raw, but the Lord has been so good to me along the way. Now I was ready to fight. Soon after, the Lord brought me into sidewalk counseling outside the Planned Parenthood in Baltimore City. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew God called me there. I kept going, and the Lord kept opening doors. I saw miraculous things happen at that clinic, women choosing life, babies being saved, and the gospel being shared. I was inspired by the faithful warriors of Christ that I met through this ministry, and I started to expand my connections to many of you in this room today. I'm forever grateful for you guys, for our common goal, and for our love for Christ and for one another. So I'll close with this. These image bearers are worth the fight. They are worth our time and energy. They are worth the cursing that we get at the abortion mills. They're worth every second we invest to fight for their precious lives. I don't know if I would have changed my mind that day if I saw those bloody images walking into the clinic, but we never know the effect we have and how God can use us. We may one day stand beside those same people who cursed us, those same fathers and mothers who murdered their own children, but instead of being our opposition, they will be fighting alongside us for these little ones. I often think of that day on the waterfall hike. I was like a baby in the mother's womb going through the birth canal to be born, the pain and anguish of the labor likened to the thrashing and currents of the water. But as I was about to be born into the world with joy, I instead faced sudden death rapidly going towards the edge. But the Lord saved me. He had mercy on me. He did not let this end take me. Yet, that end took my daughter by my own decision. She never got to see the joyful welcoming into this world, but instead she got the fate that I deserved. So the guilty lived, but the innocent died. But what a great example of what Christ has done for us. He was innocent and died for guilty sinners like you and me. And because of his sacrifice, we have been made righteous. The debt has been paid, and we are saved by our faith in him. This is the power and the beauty of the gospel. So, brothers and sisters, let us continue to be steadfast in the fight for the preborn. Let us not lose heart, but remember that the Lord is faithful. Thank you.